This conference will now be recorded.
So first, let's give me the agenda for the next 3 days. Like I said, so our next 3 days are regarding a DevOps introduction. So let me give you our agenda for the next 3 days. Fine. And I'll give you the agenda first today. And so our today's agenda is, let's have an overview of DevOps. That means, so what is DevOps? Okay, so what is DevOps, or so how do you understand DevOps? That's first thing. Fine. And secondly, let's move on to how I can implement DevOps implementation, or else what are the tools we use it for DevOps implementation. See, there are many tools in DevOps where I use the tool. But that's our second point. And then in tomorrow's session, we'll start with some important topics and very interesting ones also. So tomorrow we'll start with configuration management, or else let's say automation configuration management. So what do you mean by configuration? I think we might be having some basic understanding meaning of configuration. Probably we say installation. Take your basic example. See, so everything, if you don't understand any point, you can relate with your day-to-day routines in DevOps. For example, I talk about configurations. What do you mean by configurations? Doing some settings, or else installations we talk about, uninstallations. It's all with what we call configurations. What do you mean by managing them? Like do some setups, right? But how do you make it automated? For example, I'll give you a very simple task, and I want you to install some MySQL server on about 10 servers. I want to install MySQL database engine. Then how are you going to install it? Are you going to do it manually? Are you going to do it on server 1 installation, server 2 installation, server 3 installation? No, we don't do it. Then what we do? We just talk about automation. So what is that? Automation configuration management, plus what tools we use it for automation configuration management, and plus the tools comparisons. So we have about 3 tools for automation configuration management, and which tool I prefer, right? We'll talk about those tools. That means tools comparisons. And then, so this is the most important topic among all the topics in DevOps, which is containerization. Docker. So Docker is one of the major tools is in DevOps, and which is having very good demand in the market. So any DevOps engineer must have this Docker as a mandatory skill in your resume. Okay, but what is the Docker? So that is all tomorrow's session regarding what is Docker, what is containerization, and how to create Docker containers. Right? Then we'll move on to another important tool, container orchestration, which is Kubernetes. What is Kubernetes? Okay. Now, if your company is using Docker, they must use Kubernetes. So trust me, I can give you a number of examples. So in many companies, still they have openings left, and for Docker Kubernetes only, because companies are not able to find resources having skills on Docker plus Kubernetes. So that is the importance, and that is why we should have these 2 skills mentioned, 2 tools resumes mentioned in our resumes. So this is a very good advantage of any DevOps engineer, Docker plus Kubernetes. Okay, fine. And then the day after tomorrow, that means on Friday, so will be our AWS, Amazon Web Services. So what is Amazon Web Services, and how many services we have in DevOps, AWS, and how DevOps plus AWS are related to each other. Clear? Say I know DevOps, or else I want to become a DevOps engineer. Then what services I should have knowledge on AWS? Or else what is cloud? What is that AWS? Is it really to learn AWS as a part of DevOps? Yes, that's really mandatory these days. And moreover, that gives you very good weightage to resume also. Having knowledge only on DevOps tools will never help you out. No, will never do it. You must have knowledge on, definitely on AWS, Amazon Web Services. Plus, how do you implement your DevOps on AWS? Clear? That is what is our schedule for the next 3 days. Okay. Now, so every topic, every point we are going to discuss in the next 3 days is every point is important. And make sure you concentrate on every point. If you miss it, if you miss any point, if you don't understand it, you can let me know. Fine. I don't mind to explain the topic again, because sorry, that is the importance of these three days. Okay. So we're going to discuss the architecture, tools, the purpose, plus introduction, everything. Okay. And that gives you overall picture of DevOps. And then after that, we will start with our Linux sessions. From Monday onwards, we're going to start with our Linux sessions. Okay. Our Linux sessions will be for the next 1 week, starting from Monday to Friday. And there, after, we'll start with our DevOps course, or DevOps tools, I mean. Because without having knowledge on DevOps, on Linux, you cannot start DevOps. That's not even possible. Setting up environments and what commands we should know in Linux. Okay, that's all our introduction. That's all about your Linux sessions. But make sure you concentrate on these 3 days, so which are very important for us. Okay, clear? And so you can do some practical exercises from Monday onwards, not now, because these 3 sessions are only our overall introduction sessions. Okay. And I expect you from these 3 days is, so tools and the purpose. Tool, purpose. Why do we use it? Why do we use this tool? Where do we use it? That is what we should concentrate on. We are not going in detail as of now, but you should, at least you should be able to understand what is the tool and what is the purpose. Where do we use it? You should be in that kind of position by the end of Friday. If you know the knowledge, if you have the knowledge on the tools, then we understand where do we use it. If you don't have knowledge on those tools, then what is the purpose of learning the course? There's no meaning. So just concentrate these 3 sessions, and moreover, every session will be recorded, and I will provide you recorded sessions for everyone, classroom also online. But make sure you concentrate in the sessions. So videos are only for reference purpose. Okay, I'll provide you material, hard copies, also soft copies. So and also I will provide you the tools to install it. I'll provide you softwares, whatever you call it, but we call it tools. I'll provide you the tools also, online also. Okay, but so I expect you practice from the day 1. See why I'm so much concentrated on practice is, you'll understand once we go into the tools. If you miss one topic, that might affect your follow-up topic. That's why practice is very important, and more than practice, your concentration, your understanding is important. Clear? Fine. Let's move on to our first point. So for today, no. So let's move on to first. So what is DevOps, or how do you understand DevOps, or you can say DevOps overview. It's very easy to understand DevOps. Now, let's start an example. Let's take an example call. Just say there's a development team, and one more thing. So don't worry. Just say I'm not into development. I don't have any knowledge in coding. Can I learn DevOps? 100%. So take about my example. It's been 11 years. I was never even writing a single coding file in Java or .NET. I never did it. Fine. So, but I'm a DevOps engineer. Fine. I'm a senior DevOps engineer. How? Because you must know some things which you know it, which you should. If you don't, so for example, development. So do I need to have knowledge in coding as a DevOps engineer? Not required. Do I need to know the scripting in testing? Not required. Then what are we going to concentrate? That is why we are here today. So let's understand what are the responsibilities of a DevOps engineer also. Let me add one more point to that. Okay. So let's move on to another third point, the roles and responsibilities. So this might be a big question for everyone, because I can give you good examples. Still, companies are not sure about responsibilities of a DevOps engineer. Trust me. Right? So many companies, they're still worried what kind of responsibility we should assign to DevOps engineer. Let's understand that point also. Anyway, so let's start with the development. So let's say now we have developers. What developers do? We all know that coding, right? Yes, coding. That's fine. So just say they're trying to start a project, and the project name, application name is application A, and the project duration is about 2 years. Okay, and that means they'll be doing coding for the next 2 years. Okay, because it's all like development phase. Fine. And after they get the requirements, they about to start a project, and they also started project coding. Now they're in week 1, and they're doing some coding. They started on coding on Monday, and they have done till coding on till Friday. Okay, fine. And then they call that application as something like this, say application A. Sorry, what's the application name? Application A. But so developers also give versioning for the applications, something like this. Okay, clear? So this is a continuous process, right? Now week 2, again some Monday to Friday, and again application A, and then version number, something like this. So this will keep on repeating for how long? For next how many weeks? 1 year, 2 years, right? 2 years means just about 100 plus weeks, right? So this will keep on repeated for next 100 weeks. So they do coding, and they do coding for every week, and they release. That is how it works. So this will keep continue for next 2 years, right? Development is a continuous process. Okay, fine. And after development, now what else is next? Testing. Yes, we all know that. Testing. Okay, fine. So but testing, when I say testing, testing will take place in different levels. So just say, yeah, QA testing, quality testing, integration testing, and then performance testing. So what do you call them? Yes, we call it quality testing and integration testing, and then performance testing. Now, so here again, I like to repeat, we are not going to test it either. We are not going to do development, but we should understand how your project flow works. That's why I'm explaining this first. And once we understand how project flow works, then we'll see where DevOps will fit into my project. What are the advantages if you introduce DevOps into your project? Okay, let's see that. Now, so, but who is going to test it? Testers, of course, yes. But so you see, there is my development team, and they have the application with them. They have their applications. Now just say, let's take about week 1. Now we are in week 1. Developers have done some coding in the week 1. Once they do coding, so what do? They also get involved in deployments. So what do we call it? Deployments. So here we talk about deployments. Now simply, what do you mean by deployment? Now we have development environment, and copying that application from dev environment to your test environment. Now why do we need to deploy it? Why do we need to copy that? Because see, you're a tester, you want to test it. If you want to test it, we should have that application is available on these 3 servers. But where is the application is with? Developers. Okay, so that's why we do deploy. Once it is being deployed, then that application will be available with your testers, so that they get involved in testing. Okay, clear? Once after this is being tested, then we'll move on to the production phase. There we have our production phase. So what is production means? Your client servers or end user servers, production servers, whatever you call it. So whatever the application is being tested, take it and then deploy it again. Now I'm deploying it. And then, so after deploying it, then application will be available on your service. So is it clear? Very simple basic process, works for any kind of project. Fine. Can be like, so development, testing and production. But look at this process, look at this project flow. Now in this project, again you go back to developers again. Once week is done, first week is done, then we have second week. In the second week also, what they're doing coding, again they do deployment, and from there it will be tested by testers, again deployed, and then again third week, again do deployments. So this will continue for next 2 years. Now in this project flow, so what kind of activities you see which are getting repeated? What are they? Development. Yes, development is a continuous process. That's correct. Now what else? Testing. Okay, that's fine. Anything else? Deployments. Right? Deployments also is a continuous process. Now, so since this is a continuous process, then definitely we like to go for automating them, because we don't want to do it manually, right? So if you do it manually, what are the drawbacks? Time and manpower, I mean resources, and then your what else you have? You can do some manual errors also. So these are kind of drawbacks if you go do things manually. Then I like to look for alternate, which is automation. Now, first let's talk about development. Can we automate development? Can we automate coding? There's nothing like automation for coding yet, so don't worry about this. Okay, fine. And then testing. Yeah, testing can be automated. There are different automation tools for testing. Okay, but that will be done by the testers. Testers will take care of it. Okay, fine. Then comes deployment. And the question is, who is doing deployments, and then how can we make them automated? Now, so in your organizations at project level, deployments will be done by different teams. So basically deployments are done by ops teams, operations. When I say operations means it's not just one team, can be like your developers, testers, middleware teams, and your admin teams. So what do we call them? We call them operations. Okay, fine. So, but operations are doing deployments manually again. So now I like to look for alternate. That is there any other way that I can automate these deployments? Yes, we can automate the deployments, because I don't want those deployments to be done manually. So as soon as the deployment is done, now you see we have developers. As soon as the coding is done on Friday night, I like to go with deployment itself. See, so we are talking about continuous process. Whenever the development is done with the coding, I like to take that code, deploy it. Okay, fine. We'll talk about that in a detailed way. But as of now, our requirement is deployment and plus automation. And moreover, can we call this deployments continuous? CD? Yes, deployments are also happening continuously. So we call it CD, continuous deployments. That's correct. So since deployments are also happening continuously, let's like to go for automating deployments. Then how we can automate the deployments? So here we talk about DevOps automation. So what DevOps automation process is useful for? DevOps automation is useful for automating two things. Among them, the second point is continuous deployments automation, CD. So why we need DevOps in our projects? That's a very basic reason, because I want to deploy automation deployments. I want to make my deployments automated. Fine. So is what we call automation deployments or continuous deployment automation. Then that can be automated using DevOps. So that is the one reason why we need DevOps into our projects. Okay, fine. But what is other major reason we should implement DevOps into our projects? Because I also want to automate continuous integrations. So short form is CI. So what is that continuous integration? Let's understand what is continuous integration. Then we'll see what is that automation is. Okay, fine. Let's move on to understanding the continuous integration. Now, is the deployment part clear? So just understand the basic thing. Don't go in detail. If you go in detail again, you might be having more questions. So just understand. So the points we discuss. If you want to think about the points which you don't discuss, you might be having more questions about this. Okay. Now we understand what is deployments, continuous deployments. Let's move on to continuous integration. Okay. So if you want to discuss about continuous integration, let's understand regarding developers' responsibility. Now, what developers do? Coding. Fine. What else they do? Once coding is done, they also get involved in compiling. Of course, we all know that developers also get involved in compilation, and also they get involved in unit testing. So, what is unit testing? Unit testing is done by the developers at code level. So, unit testing is done by the developers at, we call it code level testing. Okay. Then, so also we have packaging, or you can call it artifacts. Package, or you can call it artifact. Okay. So what is a package or what is an artifact? Artifact or package is nothing but it's collection of all your application files or your project files. So take about my application. What's the application is? Application A. My project might be having about thousands of files. Then what we do? We just need to package them all into one application file or one package. So like we have very good examples. We have WinZip, we have WinRAR. These are all kind of packages. Okay, clear? Now, so let's understand again compilation. Now, developers also get involved in compilation. Of course, they do it, right? And they get involved in unit testing and packaging. But let's talk. In my application, my development team, my team size is about 20 developers. So my development team size is 20. Okay. Now, these 20 developers are working on same project, right? Yes, they're all working on the same project, application A. That's my application name. If all these developers working on the same project, then we all might be having same source code with us. You might be having some source code with you. I might be having some other source code. Like this, we have all these 20 developers. Clear? Now, so in this case, now I want to compile the source code. Now, how are you going to compile the code? Because our source code is available with all other developers. It is distributed, right? Of course. Then the thing is, we need to first accumulate or get the source code from all the developers. Is it clear? So if you want to compile your project, what do you compile? I'm going to compile the project. I'm not going to compile individual developer code. So first I'm going to accumulate or collect the source code from all these developers. Plus then I get involved in compilation, unit test, package. For example, let's say we have some developers. So we have about all these developers. These are all my development team. Okay. These are all my developers. Just say we have about all these 5 developers. Now every developer, they have some source code with them, right? Yes. He's working on some project, I mean some module. There is working on other module. So on, all the 5 developers, they're working on different modules. Now, so now this is Friday. On Friday, I want to compile the code. Now, what I do, I'm going to get the code from all these developers, and then I get involved in compilation. Are you clear? I'm going to compile it, test it, package. So is what we call integration. So what is integration? Integration is a very simple definition. So collect the code from all the developers, let's compile it, unit test, package. That's it. Is what we call integration. Can I call this integration as continuous? Yes? Okay, why? Take our example. You see, how long, how frequently? Continuously, every week. Every week on Friday night, I want to perform this continuous integration. So that means I'm repeating this integration on every weekend. So that's why we call it continuous. Now I'll give an example for once in a week. I can give you a number of examples where integrations will happen even sometimes once in a day also. Fine, because your development is happening really fast. Yes, you must do it every day. But am I going to do it manually? Definitely not. I want to automate it. How do you automate it? Now here we talk about DevOps automation. Okay, so is the definition clear? Continuous integration. So CI, CD are the major responsibilities of any DevOps engineer. CI, CD automation. This is why we need DevOps into our projects to automate 2 things. What are they? CI and then CD. Okay. Now it's a very definite question. It's a very frequently asked question. You can expect that in interviews. Can you explain? So what is DevOps? Or can you explain what is the purposes you're using DevOps as an automation? That is how your interview starts with. And after that, your questions will be starting on, can you explain the tools you have used for this CI/CD automation? That means they talk about implementation of DevOps. Initially, they talk about, so what is DevOps basically, basic definition. Then your interview starts with the tools you have used for DevOps, implementation of DevOps. Yeah. So now the question here is why we call it DevOps automation. So we can call it CI/CD automation, right? Then why we call it DevOps automation then? We can call it CI/CD automation. Then why we call it DevOps then? See, look at back again. So if you again go back to developers. Now just say for example, there is no DevOps in my projects. There is no DevOps. If there is no DevOps, and who is responsible for continuous integration? Developers. Developers take that responsibility of continuous integration. Okay, fine. So that means once I introduce DevOps into projects, then developers are not going to get involved in continuous integration, because as a DevOps engineer, my major responsibility is to automate that continuous integration. So we are automating one responsibility which is done by the developers. What is the responsibility? Continuous integration. So that's what is developer responsibility. Then we talk about deployments, and usually who does the deployments? Operations. I'm also automating the deployments by using DevOps. So we are automating 2 things. What are they? CI and then CD. CI is done by the developers and CD is done by the operations. So dev, operations, dev and operations automation. So what is that? CI automation, then CD automation. So developer activity is CI. I'm going to automate it, and operations activities are deployments. I'm going to automate it. Then comes CI, CD automation, or you can call it DevOps automation. Now, so I can give you one question here. The question is, so it's also asked sometimes, but these questions will be asked kind of senior positions. If you're applying for kind of a 5+ or 6+ years experience in DevOps, okay, you can expect this question. So the question is, if I recruit you into my projects as a DevOps senior lead or senior member, then tell me what you're going to explain to the client, or what you can explain to the developers operations, and or else what are the advantages we have with developers operations. Fine, you can expect this kind of question, and that too for senior kind of positions, not for junior positions. Okay, so apply for 5+ or 6+. You can explain what is the first step you take once you are given as a senior lead, and I want you to implement DevOps into my projects. What is the first step you take it? So the answer for this is, so first I get involved in arranging a meeting with all my stakeholders. That means your clients, developers, admins, everyone. And then I get proceed with explaining what is the purpose of CI automation, what is the purpose of CD automation, and as of now, how you are working on it, and how I'm going to automate it as a DevOps engineer, and what are the advantages we have, and what tools I'm going to use it. This is kind of explanation you give it to your stakeholders. You can expect these kind of questions sometimes also, but for senior leads, especially our architects and senior leads. Okay, are you clear? Fine. So, and also one more thing, I'll give you some questions based upon your experience also, whether you're applying for lead positions or senior kind of positions, or you're applying for junior positions also, because your questions changes based upon the position also. Okay, so if you can make a note of those questions, you can make a note of those questions. Everyone make a note of those questions. But as you prepare for the interviews, prepare for the questions which I'm going to give you, based upon your experience, of course. If you're looking for 3+ or 4+, you can go for those set of questions. And those who are applying for about lead positions, you can apply for. You can also prepare for these kind of questions. Now, let me just also give you one more point here, and this is for an experienced students. If your experience is about like 7 to 10 years experience, my experience is about just 7 years. I've been into deployments, build and release streams, or else I'm into middleware. Okay, I've been from last 7 years or 10 years, I've been working into middleware, or else administration side, or else testing side also. Then how much experience I can manage into DevOps? Then I would definitely strongly recommend to go with minimum 5 years experience in DevOps. Don't hesitate it. Go with it. Your total experience might be like 7+ or 10+. That's all different. Okay, but go with minimum 5+ years experience and take the lead role if you can, because there are many openings we have for DevOps lead positions in the market. Many positions we have opening in the market. So take that position. No, don't hesitate it. You can manage it. Trust me, you can manage it. But do some hands-on, do some practice. And for 3+, don't even worry about it. We have too many openings for freshers, 3+, also 4+. And recently freshers, that's one more thing. So any freshers in this room, online, no freshers, not a problem. Because just recently, about a couple of days ago, from our institute, Capital Info Solutions, so we have arranged some interviews for freshers, and 2 people got shortlisted. Still, we are waiting to get offer letter from the company, but they almost got selected. And for the same company, so we already have placed. We not placed it; they got placed. So got 2 students from my batch itself. They are my students itself. They also got placed. They are working there. So that is, once a student enters into the company, then definitely you can get your references. So we got these openings from those students, those who got placed. So we'll definitely refer you. Definitely, don't worry. Especially for freshers. And for experience, If you get openings for experience, because experience you can also apply it even through job portals, you can do it. But the problem is for freshers. We'll assist you if there are any freshers online or classroom. Definitely we'll do it. Okay. So now, anyway, so here let's again come back to the subject now. Is it clear definition of the DevOps? No. It is nothing but CI/CD automation. Very simple definition. Then, so what is our major responsibility as a DevOps engineer? So I like to implement DevOps, implementation of DevOps. But how do you implement it? That's our second point. What tools we use it and how we use those tools. Clear? Now, from this point onwards, so please concentrate more because we will be starting with the tools. Now, let's talk about the first tool, which is Jenkins. Okay. Now, so what is Jenkins, or what is the importance of Jenkins, or how much level of understanding I should have on Jenkins? Now, I would say you should have an excellent skills on Jenkins. Having good knowledge on Jenkins won't help us out. You should have very good skills on Jenkins. What is the reason? See, DevOps is not programming, so it is not scripting. Then we need some platform to implement DevOps. What is that platform? Jenkins. Nothing but, so Jenkins is heart of your DevOps. So if you don't have good knowledge on Jenkins, then it won't help you out to sustain as a DevOps engineer. No. So your major concentration has to be on Jenkins. And also in interviews, you can expect minimum 7 to 10 questions on Jenkins. There is no doubt about it. And some companies, those who are applying for 2+ years or 3+ years, and your 50% of interview will be on Jenkins. And those applying for kind of 4+ or 5+, and you'll be having about 20 to 30% on Jenkins. So you can expect minimum 10 questions on Jenkins. So that's for sure. Okay, you should be in a position to also know the expected questions also. So if I answer this, what question I can expect follow-up question will be? Okay. See, our major concentration, my major motto will be, every student has to be in a position to attend the interviews and also make sure you clear the interview by yourself. That is my way of teaching will be. That is our concentration will be. So working in real time, you can do it 100%. Don't even worry about it. Okay, because see, if you compare these two, working in real time and attending interview, which is difficult? Interview is difficult in DevOps. Working in real time, trust me. So from last 3 years, so far, no student has come up to me asking for, so this is a scenario, I'm not getting this scenario. No, not even a single student has come up to me, because they're confident, yes, they can also manage it. But clearing interview, it's not a joke in DevOps, because we have so many things in DevOps. How do you manage them? What questions we can expect? Fine. So that is our major concentration will be. Because so we'll be doing everything on practical oriented scenario basis. You can manage that easily. Okay. So that is my guarantee. But you should be able to understand the topics first. That's important. Okay. Fine. Since Jenkins is most important for us, and also in our sessions, so we'll be spending about 11 to 12 sessions exclusive for Jenkins, almost like more than 2 weeks. Our course duration is 2.5 months. Among those 2.5 months, we'll be spending like almost like 2 to 3 weeks exclusive for Jenkins. That is the importance of Jenkins. Okay, clear? So once we're done with Jenkins, so you'll be in a position to manage everything in Jenkins, because we'll be starting scratch from Jenkins till advanced things. That means how to write coding on Jenkins also. Jenkins usually it's a graphical tool, it's a GUI tool. But can we write scripting on Jenkins? Yes. We have something called pipeline scripting. Yes, we also write pipeline scripting on Jenkins also. Okay, fine. Anyway, let's start with it now. Now, just say that is my Jenkins. Now, so Jenkins, as I said, it's used for CI/CD implementation, or you can say DevOps. So as a part of CI, unit testing, also package. Fine. That's fine. So designing these steps on Jenkins is our responsibility. But how to design it? It's all technical. Okay, we have some steps to design it. We should understand those steps. Anyway, just say this automation has been designed on Jenkins. Now look at these steps. The first step is regarding compile the source code. But where is the source code? Who maintains the source code? Developers, right? Yes. Now here we have developers. Fine. So this is my development team, and then so your Jenkins wants to compile the code, and it is first before it compiles it needs to get the code from the developers. But Jenkins will never get the code from the developers. It's not even possible to get the source code from the developers, because my developers will be in different locations. They might be in some other locations also, and they maintain different servers. So it's all totally different environments they have. Some developers work on Linux platforms, some work on Windows platforms. There are different versions with them. So it's not possible to get the source code from individual developer. That's not possible. Then how Jenkins will get the code from the developers? Now, so here we talk about a new concept, which is a repository concept. Repository. Now, what is a repository and why we use the repositories for? So repositories are used to maintain your project source code. Project code. Okay. Now usually, just say we have developers. So who is having the code? Actually, developers have the code. But once they have the code, they need to make sure that they save the code onto a repository. But what is a repository then? Repository is nothing but kind of a common folder which is used for sharing the code or to maintain the code at one place. So we have how many developers? We have 5 developers. Every developer's source code, for example, let's say we have developer 1. This developer 1 is writing a file, and the file name is hello.java file. And once the file coding is done by the developer 1, the file will be saved onto the repository. Now the file is available on my repository. Okay. Then same as all other developers. Yes. That means my project source code is available on a repository. Now, can we call it as accumulation? Accumulation of source code? Yes, of course. It is accumulated. That means it's all collected at one place. What is that? Repository. Then Jenkins will get the code from the repository. Instead of getting the code from the developers, Jenkins will get the code from the repository. Because here we have accumulation of the source code. Are we clear? Fine. Now, so let's discuss few points regarding repositories. Because managing repositories is also one of our major responsibilities of a DevOps engineer. But what kind of responsibilities? Let's talk about the responsibilities of a DevOps engineer on repositories. Okay. Now, so the advantages of having a repository in our projects. The first thing is accumulation of source code. Okay, fine. And what are the other reasons going for a repository? For security reasons. What do you mean by security? I just want to provide security of my repository. So what do you mean by security? Just say in my project we have different developers, or let's just say there is an organization, there is a company. In my company there are a number of projects are going on. We have project 1, project 2, project 3, and this repository belongs to my project 1. project 1. And so in my project 1, we have those 5 developers. And there is also parallelly other project is going on with it, which is project 2. And those project 2 developers, they want to access my source code of project 1. Can they do it? No. If they can do it, where is the security then? So simply, I'm going to restrict. I'm going to provide some securities. Who can access my source code? Who cannot access my source code? I'm going to provide these kind of securities. So we can do it on the repositories. Then who is going to do it? We're going to do it. That is our responsibility. So providing securities is our responsibility for a DevOps engineer also. Am I clear? Fine. So, and then, so the other responsibility is, so just say sharing. So what do you mean by sharing? So now he's a developer file and he wants to access that hello.java file. And from where he's going to access it? Through repositories, not from the developers. So sharing of the code will happen through the repositories, not in between the developers. Okay, fine. So these are some of the reasons why you should have repositories in our projects. Okay, that's fine. But the question is, how do you create repositories? So if you have a repository created, they can provide securities. Then how do you create repositories? If you want to create repositories, now we need some repository tools. Now here we talk about repository tools. So what are they? So we have tools like SVN, that means Subversion. Subversion is one of the repository tools, and then also we have GitHub. So we have SVN, means Subversion, GitHub. Now among these 3 tools, which tool is having good demand in the market? GitHub. Okay, fine. So why GitHub? Why not Git or why not Subversion? Because GitHub is a cloud repository. GitHub is a cloud repository. Now, so what is a cloud repository, or how do you understand cloud? Okay, let's move on to the comparisons. Fine. Now, what are these comparisons? Let's see. Now, so let me give you one more example if you want to understand cloud easily. Now, we all know the example of Google Drive. We all know it very well. We use Google Drives. Okay. Now, why do we use Google Drives? Storage. Yes. Okay. Storage. Fine. Let me just give you an example here. Let's talk about this example. Look at here. Okay. So just say, now you see, these are all my videos I maintain for my batches, for my students. So once I upload these videos, I'm going to upload them onto Google Drive, and then I will be sharing these videos to the students. Now they can access that from any location. Now why I'm using Google Drive only? Why not some other things? Because whenever I upload these videos, then these videos will be uploaded onto Google servers. Okay, are you clear? So for example, yes, you are having an account on Google Drive. You're going to upload your files. The files will be saved on some physical location. What is the physical location is? Google servers. So that means I'm using Google servers for storage purpose. But how you're using it? Using my browser. This is my browser, right? Then I should have internet connected first. Simply I'm using a storage service provided by some third-party provider on the internet. But what kind of service that is? Storage. Is it a cloud service? Can we call it cloud? Why do we call it cloud? A person or a provider is providing us a service. I'm accessing it, I'm using it on the internet. Is what we call cloud concept. Simple. And what is the advantage? Global access. Yes. And other advantages are maintenance. Yes. So are we going to maintain this Google servers? No, we're not. Google will take care of it. That's one more best advantage. Apply the same logic in our GitHub example also. Okay, GitHub. So it's a cloud repository. Now, if I create repositories on GitHub, who is going to maintain them? I mean, servers. We have server maintenance. No. Who is going to take a look after it? GitHub. GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft will take care of it. Let me just give you an example here. Now, let's say that's my GitHub URL. It is github.com. That's the URL. Sorry. That's a github.com. So just log into it. I already have logged in. If you don't have accounts, you can create account. Then once it is done, you see I'm going to create a repository. Fine. Let's say I'm going to create a repository. Fine. Give some repository name, something like test repo. Fine. And then we need to go with these settings also, like public and private, so on, whatever it is, and just click on the create. So once repository is created, so you can see repositories like this. So these are all my repositories I have created. These are all my repositories. Okay, fine. Now, where this repository is created on? GitHub servers. And who is going to maintain it? Microsoft will take care of it. Now, can I access this repositories and globally? Any location? Yes, we can do it. Now, the question is, see, for example, take that repository. Now, in this repository, I have some source files. These are all my project files. Okay. Now, as I said, the repositories can be accessed globally. If repositories can be accessed globally, then where is the security? Is the point clear? Yes. So yes, we can provide securities also. We can give, for example, so only my developers can see my repositories. Yes, you can do it. And no one else can see that. Yes, that is possible. So that's all why we are repositories, right? Why do you maintain repositories? The second reason is security. Yes, I can provide securities. Now, but creating repositories on GitHub, is it for free? So you can create two types of repositories. You can create free repositories, also you can create paid repositories. We have something called public and private concept. Okay, clear? So, but in what purpose we create private repositories and how to create private repositories? That's all secondary. It's all about technical, right? As of now, we are trying to understand the overview of the tools and the comparisons also. So SVN, Git, and then we have GitHub. Now we have seen GitHub is a cloud repository. That's fine. Then what are SVN and Git? Are they cloud repositories? No, they are not. Then what are they? Server-based repositories. They are server-based repositories. Okay. Now, what do you mean by server-based repositories? Anyone? Yes, we need a server. We must have a server. Look at here. That is my server, and that's my server IP address. That's my server. And plus, on that server, I'm going to install whatever the tool you want, SVN or Git. Fine. And then after installation, I'm going to create repositories. But where these repositories are created? On my server. Look at my server. That's my server. And who is going to maintain your servers? Again, yeah, we have admin teams. They'll take care of it. What do you mean by maintenance? The backups, restorations, performance, load balancing, all these things. That's what we call maintenance. Patch updates, all this comes under maintenance. Clear? So These maintenance again need to be done by our teams, of course. That means admin teams, not by us, our admin teams. But whatever it is, we need a server, right? Server plus its maintenance. But whereas if we go for GitHub, and do you know at least where is the server is? I don't even know it. Then what all I do is I create a repositories, I use the repositories. That's all I do. No servers, no maintenance. This is the advantage we have with if you go with GitHub. Am I clear? Fine. Whereas SVN and also Git, these are server-based repositories. You must have a server and server maintained locally. So that is how you compare these tools. Now tell me which tool we prefer, GitHub or SVN? GitHub only, yes. But I'm going to cover these three tools. I'm going to cover SVN, Git, also GitHub, because still many companies they are using SVN as their repository still. But so that's why if you enter into your projects, you should not face any difficulties with this SVN. That's why I'm going to cover SVN also first. Okay. That's regarding your repository concepts. Any questions on this? No? Fine. Now let's again go back to Jenkins. Now on Jenkins, I've designed some steps. What is the step is? Compile. But if you want to compile, we need to get the source code. Yes. Jenkins will get the code from the repository. What are the repositories? SVN, Git or GitHub. Okay, fine. And then it is going to compile it. Unit test package is going to compile these three steps. Now, so again, try to recollect your continuous integration definition. What's the definition? Get the code first, accumulate the code. I mean, get the code first. From where? From the repository. That's what is my first step is. Second is compile, unit test, package is what we call integration. That's correct. Continuous integration. So, but see, look at these three steps. Your step 2. We have 3 steps again in that step 2. What are they? Compile, unit test, package. These 3 steps alone, what do you call them? We call them build steps, or we call them building. What do you call them? Building, project building. Okay. Now, so now I want to build my project. I want to build my project. Now, who is going to build it? What is building means? Again, I repeat: compile, unit test, package. Now, who is going to build it? Is Jenkins is going to build it? No. Yes. Then we need some build tools. So Jenkins does not build it. Why? Jenkins is only a platform to build it. Platform to design your DevOps automation. Jenkins is not going to compile your code. No. Jenkins provides a platform to design that kind of automation. Fine? No. But what are the build tools I'm going to use? You can use Maven, or else you can also prefer Ant. Maven or Ant. Okay, fine. But just say, in my projects, I want to use Maven as a build tool. The first question is, how Jenkins know that you want to use Maven as a tool, build tool? So make sure we install Maven into Jenkins. We install or we integrate Maven into Jenkins is what we call. So how do you install it? We have a concept called plugins concept. It's plugins. Okay, so the plugins is nothing but an external tool which you want to integrate or install within Jenkins is nothing but a plugin. So Jenkins provides some plugins. Jenkins provides about 2,000 plus plugins. Fine. So all these plugins we can integrate them into Jenkins. We can do it very easily. Open Jenkins page, and there is an option called plugins. Select the Maven plugin, click on install, will be installed easily. Okay, without any coding, without any complicated steps, you can do it very easily. Now, once we integrate or install Maven into Jenkins, then Jenkins will be using Maven as your build tool. Okay, are we clear? Fine. So again, try to go back to your steps of continuous integration. The first step is get the code from the repositories. Second step is building. Building means compile, test, package. Yes. Now who is doing it? Jenkins is doing it. But our major responsibility is to design this kind of automation, get it ready. Once this kind of automation is ready, then it will be automated. But how it is going to automate it? So now you see, again, get back to your first picture. Now in the first picture I given, developers are coding it every week, right? Then I want to build it. How long? On every Friday. So then set up on every Friday. I'm setting up a condition every Friday at what time? Just about 9 p.m. Yes, perform continuous integration. Okay, every Friday about 9 p.m. Jenkins will get the code from the repository and get involved in building the code. So is what we call continuous integration automation. Now this is automated. How frequently? On every Friday. Clear? So now, once continuous integration is done, what next? See, get back your, again, the same picture, the first picture. Now we are at what step? Continuous integration is done. Your package is created, right? As a part of continuous integration, package is created. What next? Deploy. Now how many servers? These 3 servers. But how are we going to deploy it? We'll start it from tomorrow. Okay. So tomorrow topic is, first we'll start with deployment, and then we'll move on to our other actual topics, which are, what are they? Automation configuration management, containerization, plus container orchestration. So these are our topics for tomorrow. Now let's again give you that. So what are the other major responsibilities of a DevOps engineer? Now, so let's add on more points to it. The other responsibilities are repository management. What about repository management? Coding securities, right? And then so creating repositories. And we have more concepts. We have concepts like conflicts. And we have something like merging. We have many more concepts. Okay, these are also our responsibilities. So as a part of Jenkins, our major responsibility is to implement that kind of CI/CD automation. And then as a part of repositories, managing repositories is our responsibility also. Am I clear? Fine. So these are the responsibilities we should concentrate on. Then, so tomorrow when we start with, we'll proceed with continuous deployments, and then we'll start with automation configuration management. Okay. So now do not miss tomorrow's session. Tomorrow's session is very important because we're going to discuss very important concept called config management and Docker Kubernetes, which are very important tools. Don't miss tomorrow's session. And then I will be start sharing videos from tomorrow onwards. Okay, so you'll be having videos shared from tomorrow. I'll take your email address from tomorrow onwards, and then I will be start sharing videos from tomorrow onwards. Okay, clear? So any questions online or classroom, most welcome to ask your questions. Thank you. Yeah.